One more. Hey guys, this is Mickey Melanciano. This is Forbitten Baits. Welcome back to the channel. And forgive me for moving along there in the beginning, but I'm knee deep in work here. I'm working on just shad, and I want to get this video out. Just finished up the whole run. What we're doing today, like I said, it's just shad, but this shad is anything but just. I don't know if the camera's picking it up at all, but this shad is laced up in color shift, and it's got a whole bunch of stencil work. It's pretty neat looking. We've decided to work on the 6th Sense swim crank. This is the D3 version, and I am going to be offering this bait in this blank, this bait in this pattern that I am going to be painting today, along with throwback shiner. And I want to say I might do another shad. For those of you that were watching last week, I did say I was going to do throwback shiner, but it's just the nature of the beast, the way we're moving along right now. Just shad came out next on the run list, and again, here it is. Now that we're all caught up and primed up, I'm just gonna finish cleaning my gun and we're gonna get to work. All right, the first color up that we're gonna be spraying with is Createx Wicked Pearl White, and we're just gonna blast this. Actually, I shouldn't have even blasted the top there because it's gonna be dark, so just forget that. But what we're doing is just basing out on top of our prime. A general blast, the stronger the better. Make it really white, really snowflakey. Make sure you use every last little bit that you can in your gun, and boom, that is super coated. Step 1 done. Our very next color, we're gonna start to do some detail work, nothing crazy. We're gonna go with transparent pink, flamingo pink, excuse me, and we're gonna do this on the throat and on the tail. Actually, so let me just turn this down a smidge. Whoa, we're way up there. I'm gonna turn down to about 30, 32 right now. I definitely could have shot this with my other gun, but it's not too much. We're just shooting out the throat a little bit, like we said there, and the tail. Try to get maybe 2 coats. I'm just air drying right now. And what we're gonna want to do with the tail is we're gonna want to wrap around and have that overspray hit the very end, so it'll make sense later on at the end. If you can, swirl on. I definitely like this transparent pink, the flamingo pink. It's much more of a natural pink. It's much more of a subtle pink. Then what you're gonna want to do is come back, catch your throat up again, Same deal here on the throat. If you can get a smidge of the overspray onto the gills, even better. We look to be about right there, maybe. There we go. And boom, there we go. Looking real neat. That pink, there we go. It's definitely very contrasting with that pearl white. Cool. All right, and our next color is gonna be Vallejo Color Shifter from Space Dust package. Green, blue, violet. There we go, get you a good shot. This is one of the better color shifts from one of the better brands that makes color shifts. But I digress. What we're going to be doing here is just a general blasting, even over the pink. This is something that's going to jump, especially once you put the clear coat on. Of course, color shifts do jump more when you put them on a dark color, but they act like an iridescent almost when you put them on a light color. Again, we're just doing a general blasting. Make sure we get the face too, because we're gonna want that throughout the bait. And I'm sure you're not even gonna notice it here. You will, especially once I give you shots of the bait later on. But it is what it is. We're talking about like a blue, and then once it shifts in the light, I don't know if you can catch it there, like a pink haze that matches our pink to begin with. And there we go, we got that bad boy on. That's it, another step done. Yeah, looking shimmery and shiny. I really don't know if you guys are picking that up, but I certainly am. Anyway, we've switched guns now. I've gone over to my Iwata Neo for a little bit more fine detail work, which means we're going to be doing some stencil work right now. And here is the stencil that I've chosen. So let me show you where we're at. We're going to be adding some detail work via stenciling underneath, or rather right on our shoulders and underneath our spine. And we'll work that out to a fade later. What you're going to want to use if you don't have this exact stencil is something that's a little gnarly looking and running very like ripped, jagged, interwoven from side to side. You know, use what you got. If you can find a stencil already stenciled out and sold for the purposes, I know Whitmore Farms has a lot of good stencils, Anarchy stencils, Lore Build, Jimmy at Lore Build sells decent stencils, I believe. You know, you can find stencils here and there, but if you're a do-it-yourselfer like I am, you know, just try to get something that runs side to side, a little gnarly looking. Broken up is what we're looking for. I guess that's the better word, broken up. So what we're doing is we're gonna take our bait on a nice clean surface. So upside down that I do it, I believe so. It's upside down that I shoot this. I've gone down to 23 like I said. We're going to shoot this in transparent gray. We don't want it as dark as the color is going to be on the spine. Just a touch lighter. I've experimented with different colors, and it's very easy to go ahead and blow out your stencil, which means go too heavy. This is a color that's very agreeable to work with, transparent gray. We're not going to use very much at all. And yeah, upside down seems to be a better way. Yep, we got just enough clearance here. Perfect. So you're going to want to run. You're not going to want to go very low towards the lateral line at all. If you do, you do, no worries. But at a fade, try to stick to the shoulder, to the curve of the shoulder on whatever blank you're using. Establish your spray, come up, across from the top, and work your way across. Remember, it's very easy to blow out stencil work, especially a stencil that's very thin. So keep your spray moderately thin, moderately fast. Boom, there we go. that looks pretty good. You see how I got the fade right by the lateral line going. It's a light color. There's something that's going to pop later on. Let's try that on that side and work over to our other side. And we're just tuning up the other side right now. Remember, try to keep your spray consistent and matching if you can. And definitely, I forgot to mention this the first go around, go over the pink on the tail. Remember the overspray, the pink overspray that we had going on the tail? Just go over that in very small fine detail, and there we go, almost an exact mirror image. This side I forgot, but I'm gonna catch that up right now. I'm glad I reminded myself. All right, now we are gonna move on to the gill plates using the exact same stencil. Every gill plate, every face on a bait has like 2 lines of alignment. Obviously this one is not lateral, this one's askew a little bit, and I like to just line up that alignment, my stencil to that alignment. So you just find it on whatever blank you're using, or if you're using the same blank, this one's going to be running from about I'm gonna say 9 o'clock to about 3 o'clock. But in either event, just get your stencil down. You're gonna want to start spraying from your eye socket back, and as you spray, try to get a fade going where it's a little darker toward the eye socket. Bam. See what I mean? I aligned. My explanation wasn't that good, but instead of going lateral, you just tilt it a little bit, make it askew. It's more natural looking. Dry that real quick, and then we're going to move on to the other side right away. Heat set that, cold press that, bam. Do the exact same thing. Line up your stencil. If you can, cover up behind the gill plates with your fingers. Give it one blast. Give it a cold press. Secondary blast. Cold press. You're done. Bada bing, bada boom. And we're looking really good, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost done, actually. That's how good we're looking. Okie doke. So we're down to the last few steps. We're just gonna take a little bit of FW Dollaroni Sepia, stick that right in there, and what we're gonna do is darken up these eye sockets, and we're gonna try to stick pretty finely to the interior of the socket, and we're just gonna blast that. I'm shooting at about, whoa, I'm shooting a little higher than what I wanted to. Let's buck that down a little bit. Yep. Shooting at about 23, 24, 25, something like that. Start right in the center of the eye socket, and as soon as you get to that rim, you want to back off. Reason being, you want it to be nice and dark right on that crisp line, and then fade out to a softer brown. And then you just repeat on the other side. I'm telling you guys, this pattern is not difficult at all, and it is, how I call it, it's appealing to the eye. It's very eye-catching. Clean that up. Yep. Alright, and our very last step is we're gonna darken up this back. And basically all I have is a little bit of Wicked Pearl Black loaded up in the gun. Nothing much to it. Last step, let's get her done. And what I'm doing here is I'm gonna try to stick as close to the spine and not really jump off the shoulders as much as possible, so that we can keep that nice pattern going that fades off of the spine. So just darken that up. As usual, I'll leave the snout just a little white, little exposed. Adds a little bit of flair. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Flip your bait, run it in reverse, just darken that up. That's looking pretty proper. You just want to look at your bait straight on, make sure that it is aligned pretty good. Air dry that, give it a little cold press. Really eye it over here, because this is your last little bit, excuse me, can't talk. Here's gonna be your last little bit of detail, and you want to make sure it's just right. This is the icing on the cake, as you will. I mean, we still have to come back to the shad dot, but that looks pretty straight to me. Maybe one last pass. Nice. All right, so we are here putting the cherry on top of the sundae, as they say, with our shad dot. And just so you see, I have my own homemade stenciled out shad dot. Slightly bigger one, a smaller one. Sometimes I use them in combination. Just mess around, you know, make it jagged looking. These are nice, especially for a more natural looking shad pattern. If you're doing something that's just classic though, your standard round shad dot will work, but you can play around, you know, take an index card, start cutting out shapes with your first draw it out, then cut it out with your I can't talk, with your X-Acto knife, and yeah, just take it from there. And obviously practice on a piece of paper. So what I'm gonna do is just line this up to the corner of the gill plate. I don't want to stray too far from there. Okay. And sorry if your view is gonna be obscured here. I do have to get in pretty tight. Let's see. I could probably raise it up a little higher. But still, my point of reference here is going to be the corner of the gill plate. Get that up a little bit higher right there. And you never go full on. I'm spraying at about 30, a little bit under 30 right now. All I'm looking for is a fade on the back corner of the shad dot. So if you can stay off of the front of the shad dot, I'll show you in a second here. Take your time. If you can, dot it on. Here we go. And you see, I can go actually a little bit darker. Actually, that looks pretty good. Yeah. So you see how it's darker on the back and it's faded towards the front? That's a nice, neat little trick that I learned, and it looks very nice. Something I see repeated a lot with lure makers. Yeah, it's just good looking. It looks more natural as opposed to just a stark shad dot. Sometimes you're not going for that. Sometimes you are going for a stark shad dot, and that's okay. In those instances, you do that. But when you want to do like a dirty shad pattern like this is, and more natural looking shad pattern, your fade is always a nice option. Into that corner, and then just go up right there. And then I'm just going to repeat the exact same thing on the other side. right there's pretty darn good looking. So for the eyes, in the beginning I was darkening my eyes almost completely out, like a 90% tint. Then I was in the middle, somewhere like a 50% tint. And where I'm at now, I really like the look of just plain Jane silver holographic eyes, and they match really well with all the undertones of color shifts that we have. And of course, just a nice big bulbous silver eye on a shad is very classic looking. So I've been straying closer. Oh, those might be too big. Yep, I think that's one size too big. No problem. I've been straying closer to just your stock silver holographic eyes. But by all means, if you want to try this at home, if you're another lure maker, you know, go ahead, play around with eyes. I've seen some nice customized, and have played around with some customized too that do the job. You know, it all depends really on what you like. So it's trial and error. Bam. See what I mean? It just extenuates the bait. Just really makes it pop. And you have your little tones of pink. I do see subtle tones of that turquoise, that green, that you will, if you will, that we have on the color shift. It works well. Works very well. Pop that last eye on, and we should be good to go. Look at that. I'm gonna take one or two more steps here to clear the bait out, give it some gloss, give it some UVLS, sign the bait, take care of that. And I'll be right back with you. Okay. Looking good. Looking real good. Come back and check her in the morning. See you guys later. You wanna go outside? Yeah? Get it, love. Good morning. We are done with our shad. Well, not all the way done yet. We still have to tie a custom treble. And as soon as Lila's done doing her business, we're gonna go right back inside and do that. So bear with us. Let's go, Lila. All right, let's get to it. So, this bait comes with a nice, decently nice, stock tied custom tied treble. But I think we could do a tad bit better. We're not gonna stray too far off. I do like how on the original, they have the crystal flash, which matches our iridescence or rather our color shift that we're using as an iridescent, it's pretty much the same turquoise, except when it jumps to that violet, and the crystal flash just happens to have the exact same scheme, and I just happen to have the exact same crystal flash. And then besides using your white saddle hackle, we are actually going to be using a rust saddle hackle, which will extenuate and highlight the job that we did around the eye sockets a little bit more with the sepia. And overall, it's just going to be a nice match. So let's get to it. All right, the first thing we are going to do, just to let you know, we do have some thread already lined up on our bait. We do have some thread already lined up on our hook. Sorry, still a little early. Can't really talk in the mornings. That's caveman syndrome. So what we're gonna do is take our flash, grab it by the points. We're gonna even it out. And take that, cut one side, take now all four ends, put those together, do the exact same thing. Ooh. Then we'll come back over. Let's see what we're going for here. And that right there looks to be on par. We're gonna go for a touch longer. So all we're gonna do is line that up. You gotta take your time when you're seating your strands so they don't go all over the place. Come around once loosely, let it drop, readjust. Do it one more time loosely, let it drop, readjust. Now, let's give it a couple securing wraps, and then what we're gonna do is take our strands that are pointed towards the front, take about half of them, come down underneath and tuck. The same thing on the other side. You go down the opposite side. If I could just get a hold right there underneath and tuck. And now you're gonna have your crystal flash all set in. Secure those wraps nice and tight and come back to the eye. If you have one poking out, it's all right, they'll readjust after a couple of pulls. Then we're gonna take our saddle hackle, make sure our tips are nice and defeathered. And I've already pre-cut these. So what we're gonna do, take them like praying hands. If you are into tying, you're gonna want to check out Buddy Small Jaw, his YouTube channel. He's a wizard at tying everything. I've been watching him for a little while now. I want to say a little over a year or two, about 2 years, and that's how I've learned how to tie. So you get our first one cinched in, grab the second one here. Okay, then we'll get a couple of wraps going around our second one. And then we'll finish her off If I could grab this one, here we go. Always keep a nice little index card to place your feathers on top. It is a rough deal picking up feathers. A lot of times you will molest them to the point that they are unusable. Then once you come in with the third one, same thing. You want to look for the bend on the feather and get them in there like praying hands. If I could readjust right there. Come on. A lot of times if you want to wet your fingers, it's a good option to keep everything just back nice and neat in place. But for just this little bit here, we're not gonna go that far today. And that's it. Just cinch it in. Finish up your securing wraps. Make sure that everything is nice and tucked underneath those wraps. You don't want any feathers or any strands of anything poking out. Just looks more kosher once you do that. Then you take your tool and you start. Oh, there we go. I like to give it 5 or 6. 1. Come around 1/2 time. Get in there nice and tight. 2, 3, 4, 5. You're done. You come in with your scissors, or in a lot of cases I just like to use my X-Acto knife. It gets much closer. You take your fly head cement. This is some Wapsi. I like to use Wapsi. If I can, oh wow, this is really in there. Jeez, I'm barely getting it. Give me a second, I'm gonna have to get that open. All right, finally got that open. Had to get Lila's help. Anyway, what we do is now you take a Q-tip, cut one tip off, and you proceed to dip and just cover. I could have opted to add a little bit of flake right where I have my thread, but in this case I think it looks better without. On my blood baits, I will usually add a touch of some red flake, just a little bit more for the blood effect. And yeah, we are all done. So I'm gonna let this dry, and pretty much all that's left is some shots of the bait. That's it. So thank you guys for joining me this week. I'm still knee deep here in the Dark Horse tackle operations. Again, just a reminder, the shop is still closed down, but will be open in February, early February. Next video, right now I'm shooting from the hip, so the next run that comes out will be followed up by that video. You know the deal. Comment, like, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time. This is Mickey Melanciano. This is Forbitten Baits. See you later, guys.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy, and silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa, it's taking over, damn no closure, moving closer. No exposure, I just wanna be a loner. Some can't stay sober, looking over all their shoulders, like moving boulders just to get out of the home. It sucks, I've had enough, I don't wanna feel the is stuck under the rug, all my problems that I shove. I got nightmares in my head.